Hello, my name is Mia, and I run a nonprofit animal rescue, and I am a shelter volunteer. I'm just going to give you some insight into how to go about not being able to keep your pet. Obviously, the best situation would be one where you can keep an animal that you've taken in and taken on responsibility for till that animal passes away. However, I understand that in some circumstances that is not a possibility. However, what I need pet owners to understand is that even though you have made the decision that you can no longer keep your pet, that does not mean your responsibility to keep that pet safe, healthy, alive ends there. It's definitely a process, and there are things that you can do to be a decent human being. And right now I'm just going to walk you through the process of not being able to keep your dog, your cat, your hamster, your pet. Okay, so surveys done have shown that the #1 reason animals are dropped off at the animal shelter is that the person is moving and cannot take that pet with them. That being said, you knew you had a pet before you were moving, and unless financial situations have given you a very small amount of options as far as moving, finding a place that allows pets, usually it can be pretty easy. It just takes a little extra time, a little extra searching, but I think the outcome would be a lot better than having to go through this. Let's go ahead and start. My first tip is be proactive quickly. And what I mean by that is, assuming you can't keep your pet because you are moving. Usually people decide they are moving, find a place, and then move into it, and that takes a little bit of time. Minimum, I'm going to say a week. I mean, even if you are evicted, you get 3 days. So if on that last day that you are moving, you decide you should probably find your dog a home, it's probably not going to be successful, and that dog is going to end up in the shelter. However, if you start that kind of process of looking for a new home for your dog the second that you know you cannot take him with you, then the chances of you actually finding a home for your dog is a little bit greater. Keep in mind, anytime that I just say dog, know that I mean dog, cat, hamster, snake, horse, whatever kind of pet you have. So the first tip I gave you was be proactive quickly, and that's kind of general. So the next steps are going to help you figure out how to actually do that. My tip for #2 is basically the social network. Everybody these days has a Facebook, a Twitter, a Instagram, a Tumblr. Use it. It is a way to reach your friends, or people who aren't your friends or just happen to like your post one day. They can know that your dog needs a home, and quite possibly know somebody that might be able to give your dog a home. It does not take very much time to upload a quick picture of your dog, a little blurb about him, and let people know that he needs a home ASAP. If you are a member of any of those social networking sites and you do not use it to let people know that your dog needs a home, you should be bitch slapped, basically, because it is so easy and it could be so beneficial to that dog's life. However, I know that not everybody is a member of the social networking addiction club, and in that case, I'm gonna go old school here. I'm gonna go ahead and assume that everybody has a phone. So my tip #2, use the phone. And that seems simple enough, right? Okay, call some people. Call your closest friends, call your family, and if you hate talking to people, text them. Send out a quick text with a picture of your dog. Hey guys, I have this great dog I can't keep. I don't want to bring him to the shelter, and I'm looking for a home. Do you know of anybody? Can you possibly take this dog? Wham, bam, thank you ma'am, press send. Tip #3. Originally I was going to call tip #3, call a rescue or rescuer. However, I don't want you to get the wrong idea about what I mean by that. So I'm going to go ahead and call it ask for help. Now, when I say ask for help, I mean ask for help in placing your dog in a home. And when I say call a rescuer or rescue, they have a lot of resources as far as the right outlets to use to advertise your dog. They have Adopt a Pet and Pet Finder accounts. They can help you with putting your animal on their websites, letting people know it needs a home. Do not call a rescue or rescuer with the sole purpose of asking, can you take my dog? You can, of course, include that into the conversation, but there is nothing more infuriating for a rescuer or rescuer to get that call and have the person only want them to take their dog and that's it. More than likely, the rescue is filled to the brim with animals needing homes. And if by chance they can take your animal and ask for a donation with it, pay the donation. Pay it. You've lucked out. But if they don't even have room for that, to know that that person's probably not going to even try after they called them is heartbreaking, and that's what I mean, infuriating. But when a person says, hey, you guys have Adopt-A-Pet account that you could possibly put my dog's picture on, more than likely I'm going to go ahead and say that they're going to say yes. Yes, we can do that for you. We can help you help your dog, for sure. So don't just look at it as somebody else to take the responsibility, but for somebody to help you take on that responsibility to the fullest, successful way. Moving on, tip number 4, and this one actually is an option a lot of people don't even think of, but it is pretty successful, and it's a viable option you can have for your pet. Now, let's say that you have found out that you can no longer keep your pet, and it's not a very large amount of time, we'll say a week, and that doesn't give you a lot of options as far as finding your dog a home. But there is something called fostering. It's a temporary home. It kind of buys that dog or that cat, you know what I mean, a little bit more time to find that home. So even if you have a friend that cannot keep your animal for the lifetime of that animal, perhaps they can keep it for an additional week for you to be able to contact a little bit more, to network a little bit more. Sometimes it just takes a few more days of trying to be successful. And I know that personally because I am a rescue and I do use the fostering system all the time, and it really does help. Asking, again, social media, asking a rescue if they have a foster available, probably don't, but if they do, you might get lucky. It's not a permanent solution, but it does buy your animal time, and time is really fleeting in the shelter. So if you know of anyone that can foster your pet for a couple days, a week, use that situation over bringing your dog to the shelter. So yeah, those are basic tips, and they will work if you do them. Remember though, the shelter is not your first option, and it never should be. It is your last, no more options available place to bring your pet. It is not a donation of your pet. It is not there for you to not have to be responsible for your pet. It's there when things hit the fan and you have no other options. And if that is the case, when you've kind of come to that point where you have no other options, you've exhausted all the things I just said, and you're forced to bring your animal to the shelter, take a picture of your pet. If you don't have one, you should, but if you don't, get their A number or their ID number at the shelter and continue to network as far as finding them a home. Because here's how things are going to end, basically. It's going to be you did everything you could. You went down every alley that was possible as far as finding your dog a home, and you found him a home. And he didn't end up in the shelter, and he wasn't killed all alone and scared. He has a home. Or you do absolutely nothing. You dump your dog at the shelter, and he's put to sleep, scared, wondering where you went. Or number 3, you do everything you could. The dog still ends up in the shelter. But you did everything you could. You're not a shit of a person. So actually, I guess there are 5 tips, and that 5th tip would be, don't be a shit.